All right. So welcome, friends. April here. Hi, Ashley. Hey, Kent. Nice to see you guys. Um, so thank you so much for coming today. We're talking about Google Analytics 4, and kind of we're going to be talking about simplifying the switch. We're really excited to be with you today. So for those of you that are new, my name is April. This is Kevin.
Hello.
We are partners in crime at Touching Clients, and I have to bring in reinforcements when we start getting very technical. As many of you know, I do lots of different types of trainings, and I know enough and a little bit more than dangerous for Google Analytics. However, Kevin does a lot of our back-end stuff here at Touching Clients, and he's a great resource to share with you guys today. So are you ready?
I don't know. I usually don't have to come out of the back room, so I might be a little bit rusty, folks, but I'm going to do my best to help you figure out what exactly is going on here.
All right. All right. So let's get started. We are recording this, and I will send out a replay after we finish up for today. If for some reason you need to leave early, no worries. We'll have it out this afternoon. And let's get going. So we are talking about Google Analytics 4 and kind of the transition. So one of the things I do want to just talk a little bit about, because I know we have business levels of varying nature here today. So kind of why is Google Analytics important? I think sometimes it's one of those underutilized tools by business owners, would you say?
Yeah, so if you think about analytics and what it's all about, it's being able to get your data from your website tracking and various online resources into one shell where you can investigate what exactly is working for you and what isn't, and base future decisions on that information.
And I mean, I think at the end of the day, it definitely, when we talk about marketing, and we do a lot with digital marketing, we talk about looking at your analytics and making sure that, that you use them to make intelligent decisions. The nice thing about Google Analytics is it's free. If you are just getting started with your website, or you have a website and you have somebody that helps you manage it, you should definitely make sure that you have this attached, because these analytics are super important. But let's talk a little bit about kind of what's happening. So Google Analytics has the one that's been out there that we've been using is called Universal Analytics. It was born in 2013, and it's been around for 10 years, my friends. It's retiring July 1st. And really, a lot of you are familiar recently, especially there's been lots of privacy issues online. We continue to have hacks and spam and all this great stuff. And to part of the issue with collecting data in Google Analytics was they added that cookies element, right? So you're probably familiar, you go to a website, it says accept cookies or not. That helps to track information. As marketers, it's a dream. As consumers, it's kind of a pain in the ass, and it's concerning a little bit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah. Kind of in short is what was acceptable in 2013 has evolved now to 2023. I don't know if you ever heard that song, Stop Children, Everyone Take a Look at What's Going On Around Here. Well, that's kind of what's going on with this conversion, to put it in a nutshell there.
And so, oops, sorry, wrong way here. Caught myself off guard there. And Google Analytics 4, aka G4, is born in 2023. It's actually been out a little bit longer, but it officially becomes home to all of us business owners as of July 1. And really the primary focus is all about privacy and better analytics, I think, at the end of the day. Obviously, friends, as we're navigating this new territory into Google Analytics 4, we're still learning. I have no doubt there's going to be changes, would you say?
There absolutely will be. And the conversion has some good and some bad, which we're going to go over later in the slides here, but it is a mixed bag, just to be frank.
And according to Google, yes, it's going to deliver stronger user experience, lots more flexibility to measure different types of information. Chat GPT, anyone? I feel like we're kind of talking AI technology, artificial intelligence technology to death these days. However, guess what? It's also going to be included in the G4 analytics. That's going to help with behavior and insights. And really, it's the future. It's really the now though, right?
Yeah, it's happening.
Um, so do you need to switch to Google Analytics 4? The answer is ultimately yes, you do. Universal Analytics is retiring as of July 1st. And it's one of those things where if you don't do it, they're going to automatically do it for you. But we'll talk a little bit about how you can avoid that and some of the setup as we get along here. Let's talk a little bit about kind of some of the differences between the two. So the first is data privacy. As privacy has really become an issue these days, we have GDPR in the UK, which is the General Data Protection Regulation. It sets guidelines for collecting data, including email addresses. So a lot of you, I don't know if you sign up for emails, and we don't have it here in the US yet. But it's good practice, but you have to go through a series of steps to verify that, yes, you're giving permission to share your data, your email address on collection forms on a website. And then back in 2018, California actually came up with the California Consumer Privacy Act. So again, protecting consumers, and that all falls into Google Analytics and protecting you and your privacy.
Right on. And, there was some Senate hearings and so forth last year with a lot of these larger tech companies. And if they haven't started making this type of transition, it's going to be happening. And GA4 really is trying to get ahead of this curve.
Another thing is the cross-device tracking. So really, the new tracking of analytics gives us as business owners the ability to track so much more. We get to track from different devices, from mobile to tablet more effectively, to our website traffic. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, and the applications too. Applications have been evolving over the years, and more folks not only have a website, but they have an application that works with their website. And GA4 has made great strides in connecting that data so you can see it all in one place.
Another thing is machine learning. Again, that AI technology. So what it's going to give us as we evolve in kind of tracking our data, our analytics, it's going to help us to identify trends, generate more insights, and it's also going to give us recommendations, which I don't know about all of you. I know, especially my Dotto Tech friends, we've done a lot with kind of all that AI technology, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in terms of those recommendations as we move along. Another thing that it's going to do, I think, a better job is the bounce rates.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Previously in Universal Analytics, some of the bounce rate was actually misinformation because it really didn't have, well, you could do it, but it took a lot of configuration. So what I'm talking about, for instance, if you saw somebody only spent 30 seconds on your web page, they were considered a bounce. But at the end of the day, if they went to your web page and they moved on another event, which GA4 is very big on, such as going to a call to action, watching a small embedded YouTube video, things like that are now recorded. So the bounce rate logic is actually better now in GA4.
Right, and I think it's what, up to 60 seconds or something that I can track?
Yes, you can configure that in GA4. I think it's 30 and 60. Yeah.
So bounce rates are always interesting to watch. I think, you get to kind of, it also helps with you in terms of user experience when you're developing your website too.
Yeah, like I said, it could be misinformation if you misinterpret the bounce rate information. GA4 definitely is doing a better job with that.
Goals, we all have goals, right? But goals will no longer be there in G4. It's actually going to be replaced by conversion events. Which is really, it's an interesting feature, would you say?
Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of times goals previously were set on conversion events, but it took a lot more configuring in Universal Analytics, where GA4 kind of gets right off the bat that most of your goals are conversion events. So it goes, it gets right to the end of the chase there. So that is an improvement.
Yeah, and it gets more granular too, right? So I think at the end of the day, it also helps with we talk about customer journeys, right? So like when you are setting up marketing campaigns where maybe you have your lead magnet where somebody signs up for an email, you can really now track that all the way to conversion is kind of the goal of this new conversion event.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better.
Behavior modeling. So this goes back to AI, and it really kind of fills in cookies or other identifiers that aren't available in real-time reporting functions. So this is one of those things I think is one to watch. Like we're still learning about it. So, I think the thing is that as
I actually think this is a really fun one. I don't know if any of you folks are Jurassic Park fans, but when they go to the park and they say, well, how do you recreate these dinosaurs when you only have partial DNA, right? So they program in other DNA. This is Google's attempt at a similar type of operation where they're going to use their historic data built on artificial intelligence, and where there were gaps in universal analytics previously, they're going to use that logic to build out a full set of parameters.
Jurassic Park.
Yep. Hopefully it ends up better though.
It has direct integrations. Really, it actually plays nicely in the sandbox with Google AdWords.
Yeah, and again, this is one of those things where even though Google Ads and Google Universal Analytics were, both Google products, the configuring to get to making sure that your thank you page is registered as conversions could be tricky, especially if you were using multiple domains like a third-party app. And that's another thing GA4 is big on, is including that app data. So ultimately, including conversions that go across multiple domains will be easier in GA4. So this is a definite improvement.
So let's talk a little bit about more features. So again, we just mentioned the new data modeling. Basically, what it allows you to do is really focus more on user interaction, right? So like watching a YouTube video, scrolling through different pages, clicking on a link, adding to the cart. I know we have some friends here that probably have e-commerce. So all of that is better tracked. Then event-based user-centric dashboard, and there's a new explorations feature. Want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, that's an evolving part in GA4. In reporting, where the configuration isn't as difficult in GA4, it does require some setup, and we get into that a little bit further. And again, it's something we're going to touch on in the slides a little bit further down the road here.
But the nice thing about those reports is I think you can customize them a lot more user-friendly to what you need for your business. So that's actually kind of exciting. Here, so some of the AI features for insights and predictions. So they have this predictive probability. So basically, it predicts the probability of a user who is active on your website for the last 28 days that they're going to purchase something in the next 7 days. So this is interesting because, we look at AI, we talk about kind of how, I don't know, I'm big on like, I don't feel like it's going to replace humans and you need human touch for it. So it's going to be interesting to see that predictive probability piece, because then in using that to our advantage and see if it actually works. And I don't know, it could be very scary, actually. Another feature is churn probability. So it's when it's predicting that a user was active on your site, but won't be active for another 7 days. And then revenue prediction. It's the expected revenue from your purchases made by users who were active in the last 28 days. Now, keep in mind, friends, as like these are features, but some of these features will need to be set up as you go along. So it's not kind of you turn over and you flip the switch to Google 4 and that's it. There's some of these things that you're going to need to take some time and set up these features.
So to add to that, it goes back to the new GA4 being more an event-driven modeling, triggering events rather than individual tasks performed on your website. It takes a larger, more holistic approach, and they're using that intelligence to give more data than there was available in the past.
I thought that said chum probability, how likely that would become a friend. You know what, you know what, I don't know, maybe it did. I'll have to look at that. I think it's the font that I use, because actually I double checked that yesterday because somebody said the same thing, so. Another thing is, and we mentioned, is that kind of that customer life cycle, and really being able to take a look at what your customers and your potential customers are doing as they're interacting with your website, your social media, and kind of tracking that across all of your platforms, and getting to know their preferences, which is really, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, Universal Analytics, born 2013, could not have predicted that folks would be using so many different channels and applications. So Google did a really good job here when they put GA4 together, of taking that larger approach of looking at all of your customers' online activity related to your business.
Well, and I know a lot of our friends use marketing automation, where we create all our automated campaigns. So I'm interested to see what this does. All right. Another piece is for the e-commerce friends out there. It really does give you a lot more insight for tracking your e-commerce. So even like your abandoned carts and things like that, it definitely is helping you from an e-commerce perspective, especially like we actually have been working on a very long time, an e-commerce site. And it really, the ability that it has to track kind of the efforts of the users is pretty cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about kind of the bad, quote unquote, the sad bread look. One of the things with G4 is that unfortunately, as we kind of migrate over, all of the data that we've collected in our universal analytics will stop reporting as of July 1, and it actually will not be in your new interface of Google Analytics 4. So basically, you are going to need to start thinking about backing up your data, pulling years of data that you had. So if you have a website that's 10 years old, you're going to need to make a determination of what data is viable for you moving forward and making your decisions. And as of Google's giving us 6 months to collect that data.
Yeah, and it is an effort to get that over, and it needs to be manually done. So there is no automatic transition of data to GA4.
Another thing that it's also not the greatest is limit on custom dimensions and metrics. So I'll let you talk to that.
Yeah, so let's think of dimensions. Give a real life example here. So let's say if historically you like to track people on your website, and you would set up your universal analytics so that you could do it gender-based, right? That's not going to be available in GA4 going forward. So there are events, but this goes back to the transition to the new privacy laws. So again, just Google using GA4 to get ahead of the curve here. So they're staying in compliance with privacy laws. So that's one of the things we will be losing.
Another thing is the lack of view filters.
Yeah, so previously in Universal Analytics, a view was really a way, think of it as a lens that you could look at your data. You want to put a special lens on. What that lens was actually a set of filters that you use to create that lens. And again, it has a certain privacy law future compliance issues. So GA4 is taking the opportunity now just to get rid of that. So that is going away as well.
Abby's asking, are Google business profile reports separated from Google 4 reports? So your Google My Business reports, are they separate, or are they part of the Google 4?
The Google My Business will be integrated into GA4. Yes.
So I'm not sure you heard that, Abby, but yes, it will be. And will you be able to, I'm assuming because of custom reports, you'll be able to pull that report together. Um, so we talked a little bit about this new feature with a view. So kind of let's talk a little bit about kind of the next steps of what take the plunge. How do you make the update to Google Analytics 4? So one of the things is when you go into your account, this is just so when you log into your Google Analytics, you'll see whether or not you have Universal Analytics or Google Analytics 4. And kind of you can see on the right here, this has UA. So this is still Universal Analytics, where this demo here is Google Analytics 4. That's how you can tell the difference that you've been upgraded. And why don't you start talking a little bit about kind of what happens? So there is a setup assistant.
Yeah, so and just to touch back on that, when you're moving over and you want to validate if you're already on GA4 or Google Universal Analytics, when you open up your Google Analytics tool at the bottom, there's an admin button. If you click admin and you see 3 columns of data, you are still in Universal Analytics. If you see 2 columns, you are in GA4. So that's another way to validate it. Now, as far as using the G4 setup assistant, we don't recommend this, right? And one of the reasons is that there's a mentality out there of, and it might work good in kindergarten where you get what you get and you don't get upset. You know, they hand it around the snack bag at recess. Yeah, that works. But when it comes to your data, there's a much better way. So what we actually recommend is that you set up a brand new GA4 property. So you have your Google Universal Analytics property running in conjunction with the GA4. And there's a number of reasons for that. But in general, the GA4 setup assistant, you're relying on Google to move over your data. And get what you get, don't get upset, I just don't think is proper for your business data. And in Google's defense, they really don't have a choice because they have to move over. So folks that aren't willing or have the time, we get it, you know, to go in and set up a separate property, it's going to be transitioned over. And of course, Google's going to do their best at it, but we just feel there's a better way.
And this is this in the resources, I'll have a link to the G4 setup. It does walk you through. There is some nuances to it though. Can you talk to that? Because there's
Yeah, so if you follow the GA4 setup assistant, right? One of the things that I don't like about it is it uses your existing Universal Analytics tag on your website to connect to a brand new GA4, which is new technology. So if you think about it, you have old tag, old technology connecting to new technology. There has been reported issues with that. So one of the reasons I say we do not do that, right? And it's far better to actually go in and create a new property. If you're looking at a screen right now, there is a button right at the top that says create a new property. In addition to that, after you create your new GA4 shell, let's call it that, we recommend actually setting up a new tag in Google Tag Manager and then applying that to your website. That way you have a brand new tag, new technology, new shell. And the other advantage to that is, as Google is giving us 6 months to move that data over, you'll still have access to your old Universal Analytics, but there's a trick to that too. You have to do something, you have to stop the migration of that, right? But that'll be alive for 6 months. So you at least have 6 months to migrate your data over. So there are some nuances here, and I don't want to get too technical at this point, but I'm a firm believer there's a right and a wrong way to do almost everything in the world, and letting somebody else move your data over and not taking any responsibility, I just don't think is, you know, a good business practice.
so some of the things that you need to know, be in the know. So if you do nothing, guess what? Your Google Analytics account is going to automatically change over as of July 1st. So what does that mean? Really, you lose control. Like Kevin just mentioned, it's an automated changeover. It's going to pull in information that might not have been working before. But your reporting is not going to come over. So you do have access to that reporting for up to 6 months. However, if you haven't used Google Analytics that much, maybe you've set it up, there's some nuances that weren't working. The good news is it's a fresh start for you. You can start out with a new property, start out and set up everything from the beginning. Because I know even us, like when we first started in our business, we had somebody set it up for us, but didn't really know a lot about it. And then as we got more knowledgeable, we took some time and set it up. But setting it up from the get-go, I promise you, is going to make such a difference in all that you do coming forward in terms of your marketing and the data that you're collecting. So one of the things is to consider this, why you should migrate to G4 on your own and not let Google do it. Really, one of the things is that the direct mapping solution. So what's going to happen is it's going to ignore any non-compliant tags. And if you have them, obviously, if you have them, if you had problems in Universal Analytics, guess what? Those problems are going to be in your G4 setup. That's where that fresh start makes a difference. You also aren't going to get all the benefits of setting it up correctly. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I think as business owners, if we can, first of all, I think Google Analytics can be overwhelming. However, it actually, there is ways to understand it and take step-by-step process of setting it up, and it will definitely pay it forward in the future. And also you get to set it up with the analytics that you want to drive your business, what you need to know. And then G4 can't redact, which is the PLL, which is personally identifiable information. So if you're using that function in UA, it's something that won't be part of Google Analytics 4.
Right. And where the capabilities of GA4 in personal data are still being explored by custom setups, you're far better off setting it up yourself rather than them just saying that, no, it's not coming over. Question?
No, Lisa was saying she found a YouTube video that helped with setting up. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. Yeah, so these are just things to consider. So the other thing, the good news is that although you're right now, if you haven't moved over on your own, that there is a high probability it's going to migrate on its own. However, if you decide you want to manually do it yourself, you can actually go and take control and take action and turn off the auto update. And so what does that mean? Do you want to talk a little bit about, so if they turn it off, what that means?
Yeah, so once you turn it off, you are committing to manually setting up a new property. And again, that's what we would recommend. You're better off setting up your own GA4 with a new tag for Tag Manager applied to your website. When you turn off the auto update, you retain your data in the Universal Analytics account, which you have up to 6 months. So you can do a controlled build out as what you were getting as much as possible, and still have the ability to get into your old Universal Analytics account and pull that data out of there, so you don't lose that. So that's why we highly recommend not letting the auto update happen.
So I want to just talk a little bit about kind of your recommendations of going back. So they're going to lose, they have 6 months to capture that past data. How many years does it go back? Is there a limit of how many years you can go back?
There's not a limit in the years, right? But there is a limit to the number of rows depending which vehicle you want to use to export your data. So Google does have this figured out. What we're prescribing to is actually going through and backing up your top 5,000 rows for the previous years, moving them into Google Sheets, and then turning on Google Data Studio. We are covering all of that. And there's a couple nuances to that. And, but that's the way we're handling it, because we feel that once the data is in Google Sheets, in 6 months, that data stays there and you have the ability to look at it from Google Data Studio, which is much more robust than looking at it in a spreadsheet view. So, and I'm sorry if that got off. So you have your Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, you want to export that to Google Sheets. Then you want to set up Google Data Studio so that you can make actionable queries on the data that you've claimed in Google Sheets and kept. That is not going away.
Data Studio allows you to add tables to reporting and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
tables in date control selectors. So it is similar to what will be the former Google Universal Analytics, but it does have a 5,000 row limit. So you can have multiple sheets, and if you want to look at things on a year-over-year basis, you would simply open up the 2 sheets and run the same filter, which again, I don't know if that's a little too technical, but you will have the ability once it's backed up to review your data on a year-over-year basis by using 2 sheets or 3 sheets if you want to compare 3 years.
awesome. So this is obviously, these are the things that are happening. These are some of the changes and things that you can do to help your data. We also, we want to help you. So how can we help you? We actually have a G4 workshop series, Mastering Google Analytics to supercharge your business. It's a workshop that actually starts next week because one of the elements is some of us have not changed over yet. And basically what the workshop is, let's see, I did not share over there. So give me 1 second, friends, so I can share, stop share. All right. So basically what the workshop is, it's going to cover, there's 6 sessions. Actually, there's really 7 sessions because we're having an intro session on Wednesday, another one on Friday next week. But basically what the first sessions are going to go over how to manually convert Google Analytics to Universal to Google Analytics 4. Then we're going to walk through how to personalize, basically mirror some of your analytics from Universal Analytics to Google, things that you've used before, things that are effective in terms of you tracking your data. We're also going to walk you through how to back up all your previous years that are relevant to you, including, we'll walk you through Data Studio, Google Sheets if you've never used them, and how that works and how that information transfers over. In session 4, we're going to help you put Google Analytics 4 to work. So G4, I feel like G4 is a summit. Every time I say G4, isn't there like a summit? Yeah.
GA4.
GA4, yeah. And we will walk you through how to generate the data and really kind of put together all the goals and information that you need to be successful. Obviously, everybody has different personal goals for their business and needs to track some different information. Session 5, we're going to walk through how to audit your website and all of your tracking mechanisms, including UTMs and using them and how to use them effectively. And then in session 6, we're really going to walk through the importance of making intelligent marketing decisions and looking at how those customer journeys work and how to maximize and save money in the end, really, so you're not spending money where things aren't working for you. There is a private Facebook group. It'll run from next week through 90 days after the workshop series, because obviously once you start using something, you go back to replays. In addition to live sessions, we also have recorded trainings because they're small tidbits of trainings that you might have to set up Google Analytics Data Studio. That's
or Google Tag Manager.
Tag Manager, things like that.
Folks previously might have just been using the native Google Analytics tracking code and didn't set up Tag Manager. So we're going to include snippets on how to get that going. And another thing we're going to go into is WordPress and e-commerce websites. What we're recommending the best methods for getting your new tag onto the site itself. So all very important stuff. And we're trying to find the the simplest and most effective ways to do that. So, we have been doing this. We've converted a number of sites over. So we are kind of there, and we want to help you get there. That's what we're doing.
So, and the other thing too about the Facebook group too is that you can share images, you can share pictures. We're there to support you. And then obviously we have our live sessions. We are limiting the workshop to only 35 people because honestly, our goal is to help you and walk you through the steps of making it effective for you. So it's not a workshop that we're allowing hundreds of people or 100 people. 35 is kind of our number on that. The cost is $397. We do start on Wednesday, June 28th. That is an intro session. If this is something that you're like, I don't want to do this myself, we also have a kind of a Google Analytics done for you, where it's exactly that. It's done for you, my friends. So what happens is you'll work with Kevin directly, and we have 15 spots available. Basically, he will change over your universal analytics, everything that kind of follows in suit with the workshop, but he's going to do it for you. He'll do a website audit. He'll also make suggestions on events based on what your business needs is. And part of that done for you is you also get access to the workshop. So you can learn how to do it yourself for future if you want to make changes. And you also get access to that private Facebook community. And that is $847. And again, that includes done for you as well as the workshop in and of itself. So this will be in the replay. We hope that you can join us. And again, we're really keeping it intimate because we want to make sure that you're set up for success. And the done for you, really, you work with Kevin directly, and he'll answer all of your questions and walk you through. And there is a call, I think, at the end to go over reviews and suggestions.
Yeah. And the other reason for the smaller groups here, folks, is it's the timeframes we're working with. So we want to get these initial steps done to make sure that your existing universal analytics account doesn't get converted over to GA4 by default. Anyone working with us, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen because we don't think that's a good idea. And if you can't do either of these things and you have to go with that method, it's better than nothing. Don't get me wrong, but we do feel setting up a fresh GA4 account with a new Google Tag Manager and backing up your data all within the timeframes is definitely a far superior way to go.
Right. And we just actually spoke to a client who they don't work with us on the website of things, and they had changed it over to Google Analytics 4, and they lost all of their previous data. They didn't realize the steps that they needed to do to make sure that they had that previous data.
Right. We can provide a little bit of help for folks in that situation. Unfortunately, getting back to the universal analytics account, if you made the conversion, that's not possible, but we can help you with connecting a brand new tag. So if you followed the conversion metrics, we talked about this in the previous slides, you may have your old universal analytics tag, old technology going into new technology. We can help you with things like that, but avoiding the automatic conversion is definitely the path we're going down. And we're doing that because we're setting up brand new Google Analytics 4 containers with brand new Google Tag Manager, backing up your data, going back through and resetting up GA4 because you're going to have access to your old Google Universal Analytics and replicating that as much as possible in new GA4. Some of what you used to collect just might not be available due to the new privacy laws, but we're going to get it as close as possible within the new constraints.
So my friends, thanks so much for your time today. We will send out a replay with resources with the slides that have clickable links in them. I'll also send you a link to, I want to show you this. I'll send you a link to the directions on if you decide you want to shut it off and really take a chance and not take a chance, shut it off, and then update to Google Analytics with a new property. That's totally up to, that's something that you can do.
Yeah.
But thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
You made it.
I made it.
You made it.
Back to the back room for me.
Thanks so much, friends. You have a great day and we'll look forward to talking to you soon. And if there's anything we can do on the email that goes out, feel free to hit reply and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.